Well, you guys, I'm excited to share a very novel experience with you and a very unique woman, Anne Helfer, who is the author of Healing with Haiku, a poetic exploration of self, which is really quite an amazing book and an amazing experience. I was really surprised to find this book. I believe a PR agent sent me an email on it. And because I love poetry and write lots of poetry, and I'd heard of haiku, but never tried it, I thought, I've got to check this out. And I love the concept of healing with any type of poetry or writing or anything, really. I'm all about healing. And so I got the book and I began reading it and I looked through it and I went, wow, this would be a badass podcast. So here we are with Anne Helfer. Welcome, Anne.
Hello, Paul, and listeners.
Yes, all of you. And so it's we're going to get into the book and all sorts of neat stuff in this podcast, but just looking at your bio, and you're quite a well-rounded woman. I was really impressed with your bio in the back of the book, and I searched to find you on some websites, and I found a website that was the bio is in the back of the in the paper section. It talks about you. It's about the author on page 143. And then I tried to find a website of yours, but I found some kind of a center for social workers and people, and you were featured as one of the people there. But I just thought you've got a unique background and very, if I was going into counseling with someone that was a social worker or a healer, I'd love somebody with your background. So to get the opportunity here to get to know you a bit better, I love to start my podcast with an exploration of the guests so that the people listening have a sense of who you are and what shaped you. So maybe you can share a biographical overview of your life, your education, and what inspired you to use haiku poetry as a path to healing in your work.
You know what happens? I work as a therapist, a psychotherapist.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to school at the age of 45 to do so. I was kind of piecing together my life. I had been an educator and a number of other things in previous professional lives. And I thought, well, I've been taking care of myself pretty well for a long time. So how can I help others with my lived experience? So
Yes.
I went back to school at 45 and now I'm 62. And so to answer that question, this happens when I have clients that I work with. Somebody's in their 20s, their life's a little shorter. They got a little less going on. I mean, not that they don't have juicy or interesting lives or difficulties, but it's more challenging working with their folks in their 50s and 60s and beyond because they've lived more life. There's more complexity. And speaking as a therapist, there's more defenses built up over the years that we try to undo, in sessions. So that said, I don't even know where to begin to talk about my life because it's been long and varied and interesting in many ways. So can you guide me a tiny bit? Start with my conception, which I do know something about.
Well, yeah, maybe just tell us kind of about your life and what shaped you into, why did you want to become a psychotherapist? What is it about people that makes you want to be that way? What were some of the things that gave you important life experience that you now use in your work? And what, I saw, for example, you have a background in yoga. It's got a whole bunch of cool stuff in your book right here. It says mother, wife, artist, teacher, yogi, healer, social worker, mental health therapist, those kinds of things.
Yeah. Okay. I can answer that. I didn't know if I wanted to go down here so early, but I will. I was born into a family of 3 other kids. My parents were married for 15 years. I was born in 1963. And my parents divorced when I was 8, but my mother left. And so my mother didn't just leave and stay in the same area. She moved states away. So in essence, I was kind of we call it a maternal abandonment. And so my whole life I knew that I had this wound inside of me.
Mm.
And there was no, it's funny, kids lose their moms sometimes to death or maybe a divorce, something like that. But they often get some support from an extended family or other people,
Mm-hmm.
because people say, oh, your mom died, you poor thing. What can I do? How can I help kids and
Yes.
stuff? My father did remarry a couple of years later, but basically, as a child, I was, as they say now, the expression is like emotionally neglected. I've come
Uh-huh.
to learn through my healing path
Yes.
that I've always understood intellectually why my mother left. It was
Yes.
never a problem. I could understand that. But the problem was, as we talk about healing the inner child, it was the little girl in me that experienced some traumas that I had to heal. And I've been doing
Yeah.
so for, 40, 50 years now. And so that's brought me a lot of different places. And I, fortunately, people who experience deep attachment wounds, as we say, I can talk more about that if you want me to,
Mm-hmm.
but people who grow up without enough healthy connections, sometimes they take bad paths. They end up using drugs or
Yes.
getting into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very fortunate. I loved school. And here I am
Oh,
writing.
great.
I love language. And so I started to kind of take pretty good care of myself. You mentioned that you saw I was a yogi. I've been doing that since I was 34. I've always enjoyed cooking and connecting with nature. So I was fortunate in that way that a lot of my choices weren't maladaptive or unhealthy choices.
Right.
So I thought, as I went through life and got older, I worked as an educator for a while. I was a Spanish teacher. I've traveled and lived abroad a bit. After I had my own child, I'm like, I really, really want to take everything that I've learned and know and try to help other people with it.
That's great.
So there's a lot of roundabout there, but
Yeah, well, it's beautiful.
We use the expression wounded healer a lot. A lot of folks who are,
Mm-hmm.
In whatever type of healer you might be, have their own troubles that maybe they've worked through and can help other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Well, the wounded healers are always the best healers.
Mm-hmm.
They have a sense of empathy and compassion for the process.
Yep.
Well, thank you. And I think because I don't think a lot of people are really familiar with haiku. I knew what it was because I've done a lot of studies in poetry and read many different poets, from Rumi to Hafiz to Tagore to you name it. I have a lot of poetry in my library, and it's always, and it's also a beautiful way to express the inexpressible, especially with mystical experience, for which is I've had lots. So I often use poetry to try to capture things like that. But I'd love it if you can share an overview of what haiku is, its origins, history, intentions, and uses, so that kind of right early in the podcast, people know what we're talking about.
First, I must say that I am not a haiku scholar. I did not study haiku directly. I remember learning about it in elementary school or junior high or high school, writing some haikus. I'm not much of a poet. I've written a little poetry here and there. But what happened was kind of interesting. In my first few years after I got my master's in social work, I worked as what's called a psychiatric rehabilitation counselor. I wasn't an all-out therapist yet. You have to get a lot of clinical hours doing that with some supervision. So I was working at a place where the folks I was working with, they were all adults, and they had persistent severe mental health issues. They'd been struggling most of their lives.
Right.
Major depressive disorder, maybe schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, severe eating disorders, things like that. And I was teaching some classes, and I was also doing a little therapy. And I was doing a lot of wellness-oriented classes just because, as I said, I like to cook. So I was trying to come up with a way that people could eat more nutritiously on the cheap and with minimal equipment. A lot of these folks didn't finish school, couldn't work or had minimal jobs. So there were people who, needed a lot of supports. So I wanted to make things easy. And I taught some yoga classes and a mindfulness and meditation class. But one of the classes I devised was called Writing to Heal. And I knew a lot of these folks did not write well or, didn't graduate from school. It didn't matter because I know that everyone needs to take what is inside of them and get it out.
Yes.
To be seen, to be heard, to be understood, whether they choose to share that information with anyone else or simply themselves.
Yes.
It's very helpful to externalize things that we hold inside that are detrimental to us. So I devised this class. It was like 12 weeks long, and I came up with something simple that everybody could do every week. I had them write a letter to the editor. I had them compose a personal crossword puzzle using words that defined who they were and their activities and their hobbies. So I tried to come up with simple things. I did the stream of consciousness. And I also did like simple poetry, like a sonnet, because it's got a very rigid structure. But then I said, haiku's easy, short and sweet. It's 17 syllables. It's 3 lines. And so that is how I decided to use haiku to help people heal emotionally. I designed the course for these folks, and then I realized how much I liked doing it. So I started, that was maybe 13 years ago, I think. And so I started writing a lot more haikus myself and just found I loved doing it. Now, as for the haikus themselves, the history, I don't know a lot. And I did look it up again. Haiku began in Japan, probably around, because Basho, I think, was the 17th century. Did I read that? Yeah. One famous haiku artist was Matsuo Basho. I actually bought a book about his life and his work 6 months ago. But it's just a short and sweet and concise way to express something. The original haiku started as the first stanza of a longer series, a longer poem. And then I think people, I don't know exactly, as I said, I'm not really a scholar, but my attraction to it is that it helps you like kind of look at the big picture, decide what you want to write about, or something that moves you or motivates you or interests you or you're passionate about. You look at the big picture, then you figure out how to condense this down into a snapshot. So it's really an exercise in mindfulness. Just it's like distilling a thought or a feeling or an image down to its most basic expression.
Yes.
So what else would you like to know about haikus?
Well, we'll get into lots of things. I was just looking at some of the ones that I did a bunch of them in your book just because it was a great prompt, and it took a little practice to kind of get your mind around the 5-7-5 syllable structure. Here's one I did on nature. You asked for prompts on nature. I see the sun, the soul, always having fun. Everyone loves the sun a ton.
Oh, you were even rhyming. No rhyming necessary. This is one of the things about haiku.
Yeah, I didn't know, but I love poems that rhyme, so it just sort of comes through me that way.
Sure. Sure. The rhythm, the music.
Warm and wet, the seed. Sunlight inspires life to breed. Love grows like a weed.
Oh, I love it. Combining nature and love and growth and warmth and everything that it's funny. A lot of the work I do with people has to do with viewing yourself as a flower, something that's rooted and needs to grow and needs sun or wind or shade or fertile soil or trying to grow through rocks.
Right. Which
so
they
beautiful.
do.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I was having fun in there, and I did as many as I could, and I want to do more because I love the way your prompts take you into different aspects of life and into yourself, and I think it helps us sense our connection to aspects of the self that a lot of people, people living in cities, we have a 14-acre property and a farm, and beautiful trees. We live on top of a mountain. So we're often walking around barefoot on our trails. And so it's easy to feel the connection between the self and nature. But a lot of my patients and clients are very, very disconnected to that aspect of themselves. So I love the way your book is constructed, because it gives a person an opportunity to explore a more expansive view of themselves and to, like you said, bring big things down into very focused statements, which as a therapist, I personally love when people can do, because sometimes I'll ask a question, how are you feeling right now? And it turns out to be, a 40-page dissertation, which mostly just goes around in circles and doesn't get to the point. And sometimes I have to say, okay, could you be a little more specific, Yeah. So I think I want to buy a bunch of your books for my patients. So when they need them, I'm going to say, here, practice this with me. Have you ever wondered why we dream? While materialistic neuroscience considers dreams merely an epiphenomenon of brain activity, throughout antiquity, native cultures the world over recognized dreams as very important and paid close attention to them. In some cultures, such as the Aboriginal culture, tribal members would meet around the campfire each morning and share their dreams. Whenever there was a convergence of dream messages amongst tribal members, the dreams were decoded by the shaman and elders and taken as serious guidance. Sigmund Freud developed a system of dream analysis, which Carl Jung expanded on significantly. Jung felt that dreams are the language of the soul, but because the soul communicates in symbol, metaphor, and analogy, it takes knowledge, skill, and practice to effectively interpret dreams. As a holistic health practitioner, I've spent over 40 years helping people heal from almost any challenge we can have. This includes issues such as unresolved grief from the loss of a loved one, a midlife crisis, a health crisis, addictions of many types, depression, anxiety, ADHD, OCD, chronic pain, and much more. To get to the root issues behind people's challenges, I chose to spend countless hours taking courses in dream interpretation, studying books about it, learning symbology and mythology, and practicing different systems of dream assessment. I have found consistently that whenever our ego is too busy, overwhelmed with life events and challenges, or we fear the truth, the soul will use dreams to get messages past the firewall of the ego. If we don't understand these often important messages, we tend to continue the same thinking, relating, and behavior patterns that led the soul to communicate by dreams in the first place. Sadly, this often results in the emergence of a crisis that could have been avoided by learning to interpret our dreams. My clients have often been shocked and amazed at the accuracy and profundity of what their dreams reveal. They can tell of the onset or resolution of health challenges, challenges in key relationships and what they are leading to, what is delaying psychological and spiritual growth and development, big changes on the way, such as a career change. Sometimes dreams can be prophetic, telling you what to avoid or what direction to go in your life so you can live and love more fully. Beginning October 31st through November 21st, I will offer my How to Interpret and Respond to Your Dreams workshop. This workshop will be conducted one session a week for 3 hours over 4 weeks for a total of 12 hours of practical training. Participants will receive a comprehensive handout and my master sheet for dream interpretation that has all the aspects of a dream that need to be considered in the interpretation process. Within the class, we will not only learn and practice many different approaches to effective dream interpretation. Class participants will be invited to share their dreams, and I will work with them to interpret them so we can all learn and grow together and become proficient at interpreting the messages from our soul. If you'd like to learn more about or register for my How to Interpret and Respond to Your Dreams workshop, which runs October 31st through November the 2nd, go to paulchek.com/events/dream. That's paulchek.com/events/dream. This workshop is ideal for any healthcare professional, Chek professional, or therapist that wants to help people get to the core issues of life and health challenges, and for anyone high school age or older that wants to develop a better relationship with their soul and gain effective guidance from their dreams. I look forward to an amazing, highly informative workshop with each of you that feel called to interpret and understand your dreams, the language of the soul.
Well, that's what it is. It's a primer in looking at your own emotional content and letting it up and playing with it and learning that those deep things we might keep repressed or that we suppress that we don't want to see. I address a lot of different emotions, starting with the more pleasant ones, and then I move people into the more difficult ones toward the end of the book, the ones we don't want to see or experience because it's painful and uncomfortable. Yeah. Cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
No, it's actually really great. I mean, there's a lot of things I put in the outline we'll get into. My urge is to jump into them now, but I want to take it step by step because I put a lot of thought into the outline so that we could take people on a journey that helps them build an inner picture of what's going on. One of my favorite parts of your book was the silver rule. I read that and I cracked up. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to meet Anne, because anybody that could come up with the silver rule is pretty sharp. We're all familiar with the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But for many reasons, which have to do with my teaching, you may not know, but I own an entire educational institution that teaches holistic health, which I founded in 1995, which is a worldwide institution, and it's multidisciplinary. So from doctors to psychotherapists to nurses to chiropractors, osteopaths, strength coaches, personal trainers, massage therapists, etc. And so I have a lot of deep teachings on looking at the psyche and finding out what's really going on with people and getting past the symptoms. And so there's various models I've developed. And one of the models that I've developed is what I call the love model, which is I before we always, and we before all. Because so many people get lost in giving so much of themselves to everybody else or doing things to save the world, but don't have time to take care of themselves. So when I read your silver rule, I'm like, hallelujah, how important that is.
Yeah.
So maybe you can share what inspired you to create the silver rule, why it's important, both for you and people to understand, and maybe you can go ahead and share it to start with.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I thought a lot about that. You gave me a list of the questions, and I thought about it and tried to prep a little bit. The silver rule is do unto yourself as you would do unto others.
Yeah.
And that
beautiful.
It may sound selfish, but that's not the point. It's
no.
Way too many people, at least in my office, on my screen, the people I work with as a therapist, for a lot of reasons, end up the words that come through a lot. Probably half the people I see, I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
I've tried to come up with another word because writing people pleaser in my notes is too long, but also, or another word is an accommodator. They accommodate other people's wishes and needs before they accommodate their own. Instead of prioritizing themselves and their own needs, they will put other people ahead of them.
Yeah.
And this creates a lot of problems for people. I want to get so deep so fast.
Well, you can go as deep as you want.
Well, I don't want to go there yet. It might come up later. But basically, I think when I started working in the field, which was 14, 15 years ago, as I said, I went back in my 40s to school to become a social worker, to become a therapist. What happened was the expression compassion fatigue was just really gaining ground because a lot of professional helpers, all the people you mentioned, plus police officers, firefighters, first responders, anybody who's working with people who are struggling or suffering.
Caregivers.
Caregivers, women, mothers,
women,
fathers. So the expression compassion fatigue was really being looked at and trying to be remedied. And that is yes, a lot of us are drawn to helping work because we do have some empathy, or we've been hurt ourselves. We know how it feels, and we want to help other people so they don't experience the same kind of pain or difficulties we did. But what happens is a lot of people, usually based on the families they've grown up in, learn that there's like a pecking order: who has to keep who happy.
Yeah.
Because if you don't keep other people happy, they might explode, they might criticize, they might put you down. And so a lot of people grow up to be people pleasers, accommodators. There's another expression, fawners, with the three F's: the fight, freeze, and fight of trauma. And then there's fawners, people who will do anything to keep the peace, because if the peace breaks, they might become the target, or it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable. And
Mhm.
so that's back to not being a people pleaser, checking in with yourself first, because whatever you're doing to keep the peace with other people, your own inner peace should come first. But that's
Right.
not what a lot of us are taught.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the key principles is we can't give what we don't have. So people that don't love themselves and really create fill their own cup.
Mhm.
What I've found, especially working with females that have breast cancer, is that they often are so programmed into taking care of everybody else that they silently begin to resent the very people they love, and unfortunately hold that energy often in the chest and breast region. And I found that to be quite a common common scenario that was unfolding with women with breast cancer over my many years of working with people like that. And so that's where I apply the rule, I before we always. And it's amazing because many women will say to me, well, if I do that, all hell will break loose because breakfast won't get made or lunches won't get packed. And they will give me a long list of things that happen. And I'm saying, well, here you are in my office because you're dealing with cancer, or you're dealing with depression or anxiety or breathing problems or any number of things, adrenal exhaustion. And now you're approaching being a dependent, and they're going to have to take care of you. So if you make yourself and your capacity to give love to other people sacred enough that you protect it and you grow it, then when you are giving love to people, you won't have to feel like you're missing out on something that you really need. You'll be able to really be fully present with them. And a lot of people push that resent into their unconscious because it's very uncomfortable. It makes them feel guilty or shameful.
Yes.
So it gets repressed into the personal unconscious. But things like that, as you surely know, find a home in the body. And because they're in the psyche, and the psychic energies are so organizational, they tend to produce tissue constructs that match the energy in the psyche. And so then they end up finding doctors and therapists who unfortunately don't look at the real issues. They just drug it or cut it out. And the next thing you know, they got another major problem, because until you heal it, as you know, it just finds another outlet.
Yes.
So I think, I've been a therapist for 41 years. So I looked at your silver rule and I'm like, why didn't I think of that a long time ago? I did in the I before we always, but it was so beautifully stated because everybody knows the golden rule, but nobody's thought of the silver rule. I think the silver rule should be the gold rule.
Because they'll misunderstand it. They think that it means selfishness instead of like self-caring, self-love, self-protection.
I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast. I sure am. By now, most everyone has heard of the healing power and wide variety of nutritional benefits we gain when taking Shilajit minerals. As good as it is, It doesn't taste good at all. Imagine eating rotting rocks that have passed the due date. You're probably about right. But there is an exceptional way I get my daily doses of Shilajit that tastes fantastic. That's Organifi's Shilajit gummies. The texture and consistency of the gummies is excellent, and they have just enough natural sweetness to make me feel like I'm getting a lovely, healthy treat that both my body and mind can enjoy. The only problem with Organifi's Shilajit gummies is that you have to hide them when friends are around, and the kids too, or you'll go through 2 bags in no time. Shilajit is a unique mineral paste from the Himalayan mountains. It contains an abundance of trace minerals, antioxidants, organic acids, and nutrient transporting compounds. It has been known throughout history to boost vitality and strength. Just pop a couple of gummies in and chew or suck them slowly for a steady release of the delicious, earthly, but slightly sweet natural flavor. Your taste buds will enjoy the delicious treat while your body soaks up massive amounts of feel-good nutrition. Rich with fulvic acid, humic acid, vitamins, enzymes, bioflavonoids, antioxidants, metabolites, and over 40 trace minerals, Shilajit gummies can help support energy production, support performance and recovery, support healthy muscles, promote collagen synthesis, promote healthy hormone levels, increase cellular energy, decrease fatigue, promote health. I absolutely love Organifi Shilajit gummies, and I love knowing that there's something sweet that I can eat that doesn't come with all the challenges most sweet stuff does. If you'd enjoy something tasty that enhances nutrient variety, delivers the minerals your body needs, and helps you look and feel great, don't wait. Get your Shilajit gummies now. Hint, don't just buy 1 bag because they'll be gone before you know it. Get your 20% Spirit Gym discount on your Shilajit gummies. Go to Organifi.com/Chek20. That's Organifi, Organifi.com/Chek20 to get your 20% discount on these amazing nutritious gummies. But isn't it interesting the fact that so many people would misunderstand it as a sign of the pathology? It's a sign of the fact that our perceptual framework is disoriented. Mm-hmm. It means that we have a deeper problem is what it really means. And I could go into a dissertation on where that comes from, but I'll save that for another day. Neuroscientist and philosopher Ian McGilchrist is one of the world's leading experts on the brain, and his work is very detailed regarding the functions of the left and right brain hemisphere functions. He clearly shows that a lot of challenges human beings face with themselves and challenges we all face today are directly related to being overly reliant on left brain processes. Haiku, from my experience of working with it in your book, is different than typical poetry composition because the structure requires a balanced approach from the left and right brain hemisphere. The right hemisphere is more intuitive and draws from the wholeness of an individual responding to one's creative intentions, while the left hemisphere gets involved in creating poetry that fits the 3 lines and the 5-7-5 syllable structure. So have you observed in your work with people to help them heal with regard to left and right brain activity that haiku's actually helping balance people's brain activity? Is that something you've ever explored?
That is not something I've ever explored or done the research on. I have never simply, when I first meet someone, do an intake and get to know what their challenges are, I've never said, aha, we're going to use haiku to help you. I only utilize it the way I work. If somebody tells me they like to write or they're struggling with emotional expression, some people do journal. Some people write poetry. Other people might stream of consciousness. I suggest people do letters, of course, sometimes. But haiku, it's not something like, I don't have an actual formula, but I have had a number of clients who I'll get them to write. Some people say, I can't write on the spot, so we'll do them together. I have a whiteboard. I'll say, oh, you're struggling with anger today. Let's talk about that. Come up with, we brainstorm. And I teach them how to be comfortable without certainty. Because I'm a former educator too, and a language person, as I said before, so, have I noticed? I think anyone that I work with, because basically what I'm most focused on with most people is distress tolerance, becoming comfortable with their own true emotions. Some of the most difficult ones are the ones that you just expressed. Resentment. I talk about bitterness a lot. Envy, jealousy. Anger is a huge one for a lot of people to actually feel in their bodies and admit to feeling. So I do a lot of focus. I help people learn to feel comfortable with these negative feelings. And so that right there is like right brain work already. A few more things, and I know I go around, but I do see
go
the
for
big
it.
picture. I see the forest, and then I come back to the trees.
I'm with you.
I worked for quite a while with a program that was working with a local hospital. And the reason that they had asked my agency to come up with a team to work with medical residents was because of some suicides that had occurred. And so they're like, we better get them some psychiatric help, some support. The problem is, if anybody has that on their record, it could really work against a medical professional. So they're very hesitant to do this. So we had to make sure it was completely confidential, them calling us up and getting in for an intake. It was a very interesting and necessary program. I've since switched to agencies, and I miss working with the medical professionals. But the point I'm bringing up is medical professionals are sharp people. They have to be, to go through college, then 4 years of med school, and then become residents and work as physicians. There's more and more information. So they have to be intellectually, mentally, cerebrally, very on the ball. But what I've also found is that very often medical professionals, I'm generalizing, of course, are not as adept at tuning into their emotions, because so many times you cannot be emotional when you're helping people in need or in crisis. So I really enjoyed working with the medical professionals, because to me it was easy peasy. It was like, they're struggling with this or that or this or that. Well, I had to do a lot of emotional identification. And I mean, they know what anger is, they know what sadness is, but do they feel this stuff on a regular basis?
Right.
No, not enough. They have to tuck it away. They have to suppress it, or they grew up repressing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've studied a lot of Ian McGilchrist's work over the years, and he's got some excellent books. And I've studied a lot of Dan Siegel, MD's work. Are you familiar with Dan Siegel, MD?
Yes.
Yeah, he's great. And also studying the anatomy and the physiology of the brain and how it works. But as I was doing the haikus, I found the first thing I had to do was go into a creative state and open, I held an intention. Okay, I'm going to write about a seed. And then I had to let my mind open to, what does a seed do? What is a seed? What would the seed want me to say about it?
Yes.
And then, okay, now I've got to do this 5 syllables, then 7 syllables. And for some reason, I found the 7-syllable lines much harder than the 5. I don't know if has that something you've ever noticed, or is it just me?
I haven't heard that, but as I can help you with that a little bit.
Good.
I suggest people do. I did a workshop for the local Zen Center, the Zen Center of Syracuse, a few weeks ago. It was very small, about 10 people came. I did a workshop based on the book, and I said, most people use a device nowadays, but I'm still kind of old-fashioned. I said, bring a pad of paper and a pencil with an eraser.
Yeah, with an eraser, yeah.
Absolutely, because I am still editing haikus I wrote 4 or 5 years ago. I reread it and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to move this around. You don't. It's an exploration. It's an exercise. It's a practice. So you can write, and then I move things around. Sometimes I realize that the first 5-syllable phrase would be better ending the thing, and I move them around. It's also finding words, as I do explain in the book, finding words that have the same meaning but 1, 2, or 3 syllables. Like mad is angry, is, I can't remember my third, irritable would be 4
Irritable,
syllables.
yeah.
Yeah. So you can find the same word. So a thesaurus, if y'all
Mm,
remember what that is, a book of
yeah.
synonyms and
Hmm.
antonyms. I use the thesaurus on my phone a lot. I'm like, oh, that word doesn't really fit. I want something that's a little softer, or smoother, or harsher. So but I very much enjoy working with language. Not everyone does. So
Hmm.
it doesn't matter. It
I'm,
doesn't matter.
I'm
What matters is that you express something, not how you do it, per se.
one.
But
It might be a cheat, a trick that came to me that I found, and because like when you listen to, have you ever listened or read any David White?
oh, I have a quote by David White on anger being actual compassion.
Right. And
Mm,
he's an amazing guy.
mm.
There's some great interviews with him on the new Thinking Aloud with Jeffrey Mishlove. Phenomenal, deep, spiritual guy. Thank God there's a David White in the world.
Mhm.
But I noticed in his poetry, he often repeats lines for emphasis.
Ah,
And so I was doing a haiku in your book. What is it on? I can't remember what the prompt was, but I think it was on love. But anyhow, my first line was others in my heart, then together we are never apart. And then I just wrote others in my heart.
Oh,
And so I could take that first 5-syllable line that worked so well. And then I kind of thought of David White. I said, well, I'm going to emphasize others in my heart. So I found that as I was doing the haikus, wherever I could use the first 5-syllable line to reinforce the structure of what I was trying to say, that worked well.
sure.
But just as I was doing it, I'm thinking inside of myself, what's happening to me as I'm doing this? Because I also am a therapist, by profession, a holistic health practitioner. And I'm always, because I test a lot of things so that I know how to apply various meditation techniques, Tai Chi, Qigong, breathing, whatever it is, I have quite an arsenal of them. And so I like to really be inside of myself so I can be aware of what's happening, because that's the only way I can say, okay, if this is making my left brain very active, I don't want to use it for a left brainer. If it's making my right brain very active, I don't want to use it for too much for a schizophrenic, because it would
Mm-hmm.
stop them from being able to linearize their imagery and thinking. But I found that there was a first is that real right brain capture the thought, the feeling, the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And then the left brain has to really go to work on that syllable structure and counting syllables. And I thought maybe my kids would enjoy this. So the other night I got them together for haiku, and Mana's 9 and Zoe's just turned 6 actually in a couple of days. I gave her a birthday present early because she's going away to grandma's in Knoxberry Farm. But the
You
kids
gave her my book, right?
I gave her the concepts.
6-year-old.
Yeah. But I found that they were too impatient to count the syllables. I can get them to do rhymes and poetic stuff, but when it came to the structure, they got bored too quick, and they would walk away from the table and jump on their hoverboards, and so I thought, okay, they're just not not mature enough yet for this type of structure. But point being is, I found that I had to really have a balanced use of both brain hemispheres. And I think as a therapist, I thought, wow, this is a fantastic tool, because it's very rare to find people. I have tests that you can do, questionnaires that'll tell you what your dominance is. Fortunately, I actually test out balanced, perfectly balanced in the left and the right, but I do a lot of right brain and left brain work. But almost all my patients, with rare exceptions, test out way left brain dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, what a great exercise to capitalize on their strength, but also open their creativity up in areas where they need to actually look into themselves or into their lives. So anyhow, I just wanted to explore that with you, because I think it's really powerful. And it's powerful in a way that typical poetry wouldn't be, because I find most people that are poetically inclined are actually strong in the right brain. They're very good at capturing big concepts and putting it into words that aren't so rational, logical, and linear. For example, if you read Rumi's poetry, you can give a line of Rumi's poetry or a Rumi poem to 10 people, and it'll mean 10 completely different things to them, depending on what level of development they're at in their own psyche and in their own life experience. So there you see a much more of a right brain type approach to ingesting and interpreting and feeling what Rumi's trying to convey to you. Whereas a lot of poets write almost like a truncated story. It's very different than, for example, a Rumi or a Hafiz or somebody like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have another point to make about, you said a lot of your clients are more left brain than right brain. So many of Freud's defense mechanisms are intellectual, intellectualizing, rationalizing, minimizing, catastrophizing.
That one more often than minimizing.
Well, they're all defenses against anxiety, because nobody likes to feel anxiety. Generally, there's good anxiety, but a lot of people feel more anxiety than they ever have. The world's gone plumb crazy out there. Yeah. And there's a lot more people with a lot more anxiety.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people do live in their left brain as a way to minimize feeling the difficult feelings.
That's a great point.
Which is the right brain kind of stuff, being at one with. And remember, every feeling or emotion that we have has its counterpart in our body, whether we're aware of it or not.
Absolutely.
And so in my work, I get people into their body. Sometimes they're speechless, but they're feeling their emotions there.
Yes.
Like their chest.
It's like very important.
Cancer, their bellies, joints, muscles, depending on what they've been through in their lives. So that may be part of it too. Is, you said, does the haiku do that for people? I guess by learning to write or practicing, because my haiku, the book, is about emotional exploration and expression. Not all haiku is about things emotional. It can be just about the simplicity of the lady. A leaf falling. The leaf falling.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. It captures a moment, And being mindful implies being with yourself, as you keep saying. Making space and time to be with yourself in the here now.
One of the favorite drinks at the Chek household is Paleo Valley's bone broth. Whether you're looking for a sweet or savory treat or a boost to your baking soups and stews, Paleo Valley's grass-fed bone broth protein is the answer. It's rich in collagen and the amino acids glycine and proline, which can help support healthy gut function. And it's made from the bones of 100% grass-fed animals, unlike many other collagen products which use animal hides instead. Paleo Valley's bone broth protein is super easy to use. Just blend a scoop into hot water, coffee or tea, blend it into your favorite smoothie, or add to any recipe or baked treat for a protein boost. And it's now available in a brand new flavor, turmeric ginger. This golden spicy blend is perfect for a warming drink on a cold autumn afternoon. Or choose the Chek kids' favorite flavor, although they can't actually decide if this is the chocolate option or the salted caramel. If you prefer a savory drink, Paleo Valley's Savory Original has you covered, and it also comes in creamy vanilla and an unflavored option. So try Paleo Valley's bone broth protein and save 15% on your purchase by going to paleovalley.com/Chek15. I know you're going to love it, no matter which flavor you try. So save 15% at paleovalley.com/Chek15.
Yeah, hearing more about you and understanding sort of the way you work makes me want to ask you, have you ever read the book or heard of the book Body Eloquence by Nancy Mellon?
I have not.
Oh my God.
Body eloquence. I have a paper and I'm so prepared.
Yes. I'll
right.
tell you what, if you buy that book and it doesn't just absolutely blow your mind, I will pay you for it.
Okay. Body eloquence. Is it newer, older?
It's older, and I recently did a podcast with her. You might really enjoy the podcast.
Okay.
Nancy Mellon, she's 84 now. The podcast was amazing. But in that book, what she does is she's a long time Waldorf school teacher, art therapist, a psychologist, and a professional storyteller and a mythologist. And so what she does is she goes through the body, and for each of the organs in the body and all the meridian systems in Chinese medicine, she tells you what the myth that is commonly being played out when people have illnesses and challenges, and shows you where to look into your life and into yourself to see what's likely to disturb the natural health of that gland or organ. And I've been using it. I think the book came out in 2008. I've used it countless times to track the deeper reasons people are having, because often people have, 3, 4, 5 divorces or business crashes or illnesses that keep repeating. And so most of the people that hire me are what are classically called medical failures. And so I've found her book so amazingly accurate for tracking the deeper story behind a lot of these things and helping them rewrite their personal myth in ways that are more empowering. But I just, listening to you, I'm like, wow, she would love Nancy Mellon's book if she hasn't got it. And I think you'll love the podcast because Nancy is, even at 84, she's still firing on all cylinders. It's really fun.
Yes.
I was curious, have you ever looked at the archetypal and numerological correlations to the 3, 5, 7 syllable structure to better understand how it may be working within the unconscious mind of the poet?
I have not at all. So if you can, I don't have a background in, well, archetype, I think of Carolyn Myss. And when you were speaking about Nancy Mellon, I was thinking about one of Carolyn Myss's books, because she looks at, she's a medical intuitive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most people that listen to my podcast I've studied her extensively, but I've really spent over 30 years, probably 35 now, studying the collected works of Carl Jung and many of the great Jungian analysts. I've had some of them on my podcast as well, which are fantastic. James Hollis, for example, has been on my podcast. I've studied, I did 2 courses on mythology with James Hollis, which were excellent. But I'm also a teacher and practitioner of tarot. And so I teach the tarot major arcana to help people understand how the objective psyche works, basically in layman's terms, how the mind works. And so when I looked at, and I'm also a practitioner of numerology, and when I looked at the haiku structure, I thought, well, this is interesting. I wonder if Anne's looked at this. So I'll share with you a correlation.
Please do.
So we'll start with the 3-line structure. The number 3, the key words describing the number field 3 are vision, imagination, and joy of living. So right there, the archetypal field that we're working in numerologically is vision, imagination, and the joy of living, which is fantastic. The tarot archetype is the divine mother or the empress, which is to nurture yourself. The number 5 field, energy, the number field 5, the key words are progress, adventure, and opportunity. And the major arcana archetype in tarot is the Hierophant, which is the spiritual teacher that is physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually integrated, or it's the wise man or wise woman archetype. So that's pretty cool. 7, the number field 7 is analysis, awareness, and understanding, which is the Chariot archetype in tarot, which is all about balancing the forces of consciousness within yourself so that you don't get lost in your mind. And then because there's 2 5s, you see a doubling of whenever you have a double of an archetype or a number or a triple, etc., it multiplies the power. So we actually have a doubling of vision, imagination, and the joy of living. And if you do the numerological correlation, 5 plus 7 plus 5 is 17, which is the star archetype in tarot, which is all about going inside and really taking responsibility for your relationship between the unconscious and the conscious and stepping into your fullness. And if you add the three lines to the 5-7-5 structure, you get the archetype of judgment, which is all about letting go of judgments to be one with God, so you can make it through the gate of 21, which is the womb of the divine mother, or the entrance into the realm of spirit. And so when you look at the numerology and the archetypal correlation at an unconscious level, haiku's extremely powerful.
Well, it's funny because I asked a former professor of mine who's a family and marriage therapist what I didn't know anything about publishing. And when the publisher said, you've got to get some advanced praise, I'm like, what's that? And they said, when people read your book and say nice things about it, I'm like, oh, you're giving me a week to do that? Anyway,
right.
They gave me an extension of another week. So I'm hurriedly, and I'm nobody. You looked for me online. I don't mean I am nobody. I'm somebody, but I'm nobody.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't have a following, or
right.
There's another story there about an online following. But so I was new to this, really new to publishing. And so I had to ask some people, and they actually chose his quote for the front of it. And it says on the front of the book, it says, reveals both the power of haiku and the authentic self.
Yes.
So the power of haiku, and I'm utilizing it to get to authenticity and self-awareness, self-knowledge, and self-compassion, self-acceptance, wholeness.
Yeah.
Accepting it all, the dark and the light.
Yeah. And the numerology and the archetypal relationships are really all about that, which is, I've been studying numerology and archetypes for a very long time. And one of the things that I have a habit of doing is anytime I'm reading a book and there's something significant stated, I look at the page number and find out what archetype it relates to. And every single time it's bang on. And so it shows you that we're actually living in a divine matrix where there is an archetypal and numerological or mathematical underpinning to the structure of what we would call reality or life. And I'm always truly amazed at how consistently that appears. I don't know if I put this in the outline, but I have this urge to ask you,
anything.
Well, I think it's an important question. I ask it in a lot of my podcasts because you get so many different answers. But when you relate to or refer to the word self, what exactly are you personally saying or referring to? For example, in this guy's quote, he says, reveals both the power of haiku and the authentic self. What is the authentic self to Annie, or to Anne, sorry?
Okay. Kind of like you. It sounds like you're I'm going to go ahead and share a little haiku that I wrote a couple of weeks ago. But
oh, great.
You started out the interview saying you're a well-rounded person, many interests. And I had written, Renaissance woman, professional amateur, master of nothing.
I love it.
So my whole life I've been doing a lot of different things just because I have an expansive mind and I love to learn, and I've lived in a place and a time where access to learning and travel and my own disposition, being kind of open-minded and open-hearted, has led me to do a lot of different things. But the self, so a lot of things inform my view of the self. I pick and choose. I joke I realized this year, working with some people who are into witchcraft and paganism, and I realized I'm a pagan. I mean, I knew that. I was kind of born that way. I always have been, but I don't mind taking the label on. But I'm also, I usually say I'm an amateur Buddhist, which means I belong to the Zen Center of Syracuse. I don't go to settings now. I was taking yoga classes there. I donate a little money every year. I did my presentation there, but I love the Zen Center of Syracuse, and I'm a member, not very active, but I have a more informal meditation practice rather than
Mhm.
going and sitting with the Sangha.
Right.
But so the self has many different meanings. Like, I'm Buddhist. I'm not an amateur, but I'm Buddhist. I'm a little bit Buddhist.
Yeah.
And the self is, for me, what we're born with before it gets programmed, tarnished, molded by others, family at first, and then friends, and then people and teachers and society at large. It's just the most pure essence of who we are. Each
Mhm.
one of us. Yeah. I have never had anybody ask me that. What do I mean by the self? Your own heart.
Mhm.
Your spirit, your soul.
Mhm.
Your, yeah. That's how I see it.
Are you tired of feeling stuck? Whether you're stuck in your health, your career, or your daily routine, getting out of a rut can feel overwhelming. But here's an opportunity to escape that rut, to break out and transform your life from the inside out. No matter what you feel has been holding you back, you can make a lasting change and reach your physical and mental goals and dreams. The Chek Academy is the answer, bringing you fulfillment and purpose with step-by-step assistance, guidance, and learning. You'll be equipped to improve your health and, if you choose, guide others through their transformation too. Because the Academy's schedule is designed to accommodate those with full-time jobs, you can make this life-changing leap while still managing your regular day-to-day commitments. In year one, you'll gain tools and strategies that really work, not quick fixes that are not sustainable. Starting with Paul's book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, which helps to build healthy habits, you'll grow on this foundation in Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 1 online. Integrated Movement Science Level 1 online and the Integrated Movement Science Level 1 online and the prerequisites will show you how to exercise with confidence and precision. Chek mentors and faculty are there to guide and support you as you progress, as well as the community of your fellow students in the Chek Academy. The fall enrollment is closing soon, so get your application submitted now. Go to chek.group/Chek Academy. Don't wait any longer to make your vision your reality. Come join the Chek Academy and become your absolute best self. Apply now at chek.group/Chek Academy.
Yeah, that's good. It reminds me of a Zen koan. I love koans. I've got many books of them. I like to do them. It's just something that my mind enjoys. But one of the Zen koans is, what was your original face before you were born?
Mm.
And when I was reading my book of koans that posted that koan, I wrote below it, a perfectly polished mirror facing a perfectly polished mirror.
Depth.
Emptiness repeated forever.
Emptiness. Oh, so you got my Renaissance woman. I'm the master of nothing. I almost said mistress of nothing. And then I'm like, they don't say actress anymore. They say actor. I don't know if that's patriarchal or not, but whatever.
Who cares?
And I can edit it later.
Yeah.
Nothing's set in
5
stone.
years from now.
Oh, God, that's been a big one lately about certainty and uncertainty and the way things are going sociopolitically and in every aspect of life, it seems. I don't know what it's like out there in wherever you're living, but out here on the East Coast, things are a little cray-cray.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing a lot of thinking about, when I went to the Zen Center, the woman who is who runs the Zen Center, Shinge Roshi is her name. She said, I can't be there, but would you please make sure to do something on impermanence, which is one of the basic tenets of Buddhism, that everything changes all the time. So I thought, do I have to write new haikus? And I looked through my hundreds of haikus and I was like, oh no, I write about impermanence all the time. I didn't do it intentionally. It's just my perspective. And, but lately I've been writing, because I work with a lot of people with a little bit of OCD tendencies or control issues, a lot of fear and that kind of stuff. And so we talk a lot about control and radical acceptance. But I wrote, uncertainty is the only true certainty. Change is permanent. Now, see, that's not about emotions. That's not about nature. It's about the nature of existence. But, it's not particularly deep and beautiful. I mean, my haikus, the ones I include in the book or the ones I help people to write, they don't have to be traditional haikus. It's really a task to just be present, pay attention, and express that.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah.
I find, for example, I found over and over and over again that people were so mentally busy. Like there's a lot of meditation approaches that are like almost impossible for people to do. And I even had Tai Chi masters. I think I've had 3 of them come to me, and I tracked a lot of their stress back to their mind being so busy. And I thought, wow, this is a paradox. So I decided that I needed to create moving meditations that would harmonize the brain, the heart, and the gut system, which are biological oscillators, to bring the body into a state of coherence. So it just so happened at the time I was reading a 3-volume series on the martial arts masters of the world, which included Tai Chi and Qigong masters, or the inner martial arts. And lo and behold, they had like you have corporate boards, and it shows you the founder, and then it gives you the tree of who's in charge of who. And in the lineage of Tai Chi masters and Qigong masters, the most recent one that was listed in the table was a man named Master Fong Ha. And my first question was, I wonder if he's still alive. So I searched to see if I could find him. And lo and behold, he lived in San Francisco. So I got a hold of him and explained to him what I was trying to do, because that was at the time I was writing my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy. And I said, I really want to present simple, dynamic meditations anybody can do. I have some ideas, but I need somebody with your skill to help me refine them and make sure that before I publish them, that they really do what they're meant to do. And he thought it was a great idea. And so I went to him and I worked with him for 3 years. And he gave me my own practices, which I did as his student. And that took me deep into the experience of Tai Chi and Qigong, because he was a master at both. And I studied medical Qigong and got certified in that. But out of that process came these very simple, powerful exercises that anybody could use and have often very profound results, because they didn't have to think about them, And so I thought, I just felt inspired to share that, because I think it's so easy to get caught in trying to be perfect, too much complexity. With all the Tai Chi people, I found that they were so trapped in their head because there's so much emphasis on form. They're always worried if their hand's in the right place or their arm's in the right place. So they're constantly self-referencing, but not in the kind of self-referencing way that's healthy, in almost like Freud's superego or the judging parent mind, like they're afraid their master's watching and they're going to get reprimanded, which they can't relax. Yeah. So it locks their chi up, which is a paradox. You're doing Tai Chi and it locks your chi up because you're constantly analyzing yourself. Yep. So I called them zone exercises. And then the zones represent the chakras. So I designed key exercises to unlock the energy flow through each of the chakra systems. Yep. And it works beautifully. My next thing I wanted to explore with you, you share in your book that haiku helps express the good and release the bad, which seems like a very good idea for anyone. Can you share any insights regarding why haiku may be preferable to other methods for expressing the good and releasing the bad, such as journaling, other forms of poetry, talk therapy, art therapy, unbound play, send therapy, etc.? Have you got any sense of that?
Yeah, absolutely. My husband liked to call writing haiku the rap of
that's a great way to put it,
of expressive writing. In this day and age, people are busier than ever, but you can see something when you're driving to work, which happens to me all the time, or hear a song and like a line and say, I'm going to make a haiku around that. It's short. It's concise. It's not very time consuming, although you could spend a half hour on a haiku. Mine usually come and I play around. But it's quick. It's cheap. You don't need anything.
Pencil and paper. You can even do it in your head if you get good
You
enough.
can do it in your head if you get good enough, which I do. I remember lines from songs, and or you could talk into your phone. You could type it in your phone. I have a whole, one page in my notes section in my phone where I start haikus, and there's a line I want to develop, or I have them listed, and then I print them out every season. I just printed out my spring 2025 haikus. There are probably 40 of them. So they're inexpensive, meaning you can use a napkin.
Yeah.
And a lipstick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's people right there, aha moments down on a napkin, ideas for songs. So it's inexpensive, it's accessible, it's easy to do. You can use basic, simple language or fancy schmancy language. You don't need any materials like art therapy. You might need clay, or you might need crayons, or you don't need anything but something to write with. I had something else down there. And it really is it's like therapy. You said talk therapy. That can be an expense depending on your insurance, depending on your copays and stuff. It's kind of like free therapy a little bit.
I love it.
So yeah.
Yeah. I just was also kind of thinking, is there anything, I guess it's probably the focus, but is there anything that you think about haiku helps you get to the good and the bad more specifically? Or is it just the fact that the haiku's focusing your attention on a theme of some sort?
Let me think about that. My first impulse was to say, when you're mindful, when you're in the moment, when you're present, all these words meaning in the here now, right now, not off somewhere else in your mind, in the past or in the future. But when you're here now, you notice things more, you're more aware. And so I do notice things a lot, and I'm always trying to make sense of it. Is there a lesson there? A little lesson? Like when I see, an ant doing something, I'm like, damn, they're strong. What are they building? What are they having for dinner with that boulder on there? Cracker piece on there. It's just an openness to what's going on. It's a different way of perception, perceiving the world, and now I've forgotten your question.
Was there anything about haiku that you think unlocks a person's ability to get to the good or the bad challenges or things they need to either celebrate or heal?
I think it's both. It's the awareness that there are good, when you're feeling down, depressed, overwhelmed, to remember, like people talk about the attitude of gratitude, that kind of thing, or gratitude list, is to notice the glimmers, as we call them, the beautiful little things in your day, like it was raining, the sun just came out, or there's a fawn on the side of the road, or dang, that cup of coffee tasted really good right here, right now. I have to go back to work in a minute, but I'm going to enjoy this moment. So if you can learn to enjoy the glimmers, the positives, the happies, the bright spots, it's a practice of mindfulness is what this all is being more present in the here now. Because you can be drinking coffee thinking about the meeting that you're going to have with your boss, but you don't have to think about that meeting because you're not there. You can just savor physically with your body here now. And that's easy. That's the easy stuff. Noticing the good stuff or enjoying the happiness or the pleasures in life. The hard stuff, I find people come into my office because it's the difficulties holding them back. It's the pain that we don't want to feel, the anxiety that we don't know how to discharge. And that's harder stuff. And again, it's mind, body, mind. As you've said, so much of your work takes you into the body as well as into the mind. You've got to choose to look at the negative. Nobody wants to go to therapy. A lot of people are scared because they know it's going to, we're shrinking your mind. We're not really, we're opening your heart and opening your guts, actually.
Yeah.
It's hard work looking at that which you have withheld from yourself. And that's what looking at the more difficult, vehement emotions, I call them, the harder ones, shame. Nobody wants to feel shame. Nobody wants to feel
guilt.
Nobody wants to feel bitter.
Right.
I remember when somebody told me I was bitter, I'm like, who, me? I'm sunshine. And then I had to really think about it and be open to my own shit and go, oh, I can be bitter. And now I'm like an expert at bitterness. My husband and I joke sometimes. Was this dish made with bitterness? Because I resent that I'm still cooking, that, he's working longer hours than he should be by now because it's about me and my career, and go home and cook dinner. And there's a little bit of bitterness. We joke about me putting bitterness in the food. Because I've admitted, I work with it. I work with my own shit.
Hello, everybody. I sure hope you're enjoying the podcast as much as I am. I got something really cool to share with you. I think all of you know I'm not a biohacking type guy at all. I'm a bioharmonizer. Not too long ago, my buddy Aubrey Marcus turned me on to something really cool called Correct Fuel. And it's a great way to enhance your workout, support your metabolism, and just get more out of everything that you're doing. And not only that, for a product with ketone metabolites in it, it tastes damn good, which is hard to do. I'm super excited about it. And I really love knowing that I can take something that's good for me and good for my body and will help me lift bigger stones and have a better workout and show the young man how to do it. So, Aubrey, congratulations on such an amazing product. What would you like to share with the audience just so they know more about how it works and anything specific you think is important to share?
Competitive athletics has been a part of my life since I was a kid. And there's certain things that we deplete ourselves of when we're sweating, when we're out in the sun. For me, it's pickleball or basketball or volleyball, beach volleyball. So I wanted to start with an electrolyte mix that I really felt captured the main electrolytes like you would get in a normal electrolyte packet: magnesium, potassium, calcium. Replenish your body with that. But I know that that's not enough. I wanted to have all of the trace minerals that come from sea salt. We actually took an extract called Aquamin, which comes from the sea. So we're getting all of those trace minerals as well as those core electrolytes. And then adding those exogenous ketones, the GoBHB, that actually give you the ketone energy, which is the second fuel source for the body. So it increases your mental clarity and acuity, especially for, athletic sports where you're paying attention. That's super important to have that kind of mental clarity, as well as physical energy that you get. And to round this all out, we found an extract actually from, green beans that actually increases the body's ability to burn our own fat as fuel. So while this isn't designed for anything for weight loss, it's designed to maximize energy. But what if we could put all this together, make it taste great, and then allow people to actually push as hard as they want to push, whether that's athletically or whether that's just restoring your body after you've sweat through the night and lost.
Or cleaning your house.
Clean your damn house. Make your damn bed.
Yeah. Well, I love it. It's awesome. And, I'm very shy, as you know, about anything biohack-like. And I really say you've done a great job with Correct Energy and Correct Fuel of bioharmonizing. So I tip my hat to you, brother. And for any of you that wants to try Correct Fuel, go to korrectlife.com/Spirit Gym. Get 15% off your first order. And while you're there, check out Correct Energy too. Aho, great spirit. Thanks, Aubrey.
You're welcome.
Well, good. And that I think that's one of the things that I'm getting out of this, and just flashing back on, I've been working with your book for, I don't know, a few months now, and just sort of every morning when I have a few minutes, just diving in there and doing some haiku. But I think from my own experience, if I'm going to write a haiku about sadness or my own sadness, then like you say, you have to be quite mindful. You got to go find the sadness that you want to write about, you want to poetically express. So it's kind of like looking into yourself with a magnifying glass and saying, okay, what is it in me that's really could use some release or some movement or some grease or some,
And
some
that's where the
love.
body plays into it. That's the work I do with, depending on the person and the issues, I go into the body. If they start to look a little bit angry, I'll say, can you give me a minute once they learn to trust me? And what I ask of them is for their own benefit. Say, pay attention to your body. What are you feeling where right now? Their face might be turning red. And they'll go, Oh, I feel some tension in my upper arms. I'll go, yes, stick with that. Just feel that for a minute, because those difficult feelings like anger, even shame, they might feel something in deep in their gut. And to help them experience the sensation that goes with the emotion is crucial, especially when we get
Yes.
to doing trauma work. Not just, my father used to criticize me because I was chubby when I was a kid. That stuff sticks sometimes.
I've long time been a friend with and referred clients to and have worked with an excellent Alexander practitioner named Eileen Troberman. And when I was doing my podcast with her, she taught a very interesting technique that I thought might be fun to share with you. It's really simple, but very powerful. And it's for these people that are very locked up or very stressed out. And so the technique is you use one hand and the fingers, and the question you ask yourself is, and you touch one finger while you're doing it. So we're going to start with number one, and you just say, I'll ask you and you answer, where do you feel a little ease in your life right now? And you would answer it.
Oh, you want me to answer?
Yes.
Oh, I feel ease with the flowers blooming everywhere right now.
Great. And so what you would do is you ask that question 5 times. And so if you can't think of anything, you would just repeat the same one. But what she found through her work as an Alexander practitioner, because Alexander work is all about inhibition of the system, not excitation. For example, Feldenkrais work is corrective exercises and exercises that bring relaxation, but it's still an activation process, where Alexander's approach is really about calming and inhibiting excitation. So if a person's traps are all tight, then the Alexander approach is you don't want to tighten those traps up. So we have to teach you how to stop using them so much.
Right.
So it's really interesting when I do it with myself or my patients. Where do I feel a little ease right now? Well, I'm enjoying a great conversation with Anne. Where do I feel a little ease right now? Well, I had a great lunch. Where do I feel a little ease right now? It's a beautiful day. Where do I feel a little ease right now? My daughter's really happy with the birthday gift I got her. Where do I feel a little ease right now? I love my water charger because it makes beautiful water. And generally, for some reason, and 5 again, if a person does that 5 times, it brings a sense of ease inside of them. And she says, if you don't get enough, then you do the other hand. And you just keep going until the body begins to relax.
Right. It's literal grounding, being here now by utilizing your body and your thoughts together. I want to share something with you, because a few minutes ago you were talking about finding ease and openness and being in your body and listening to the messages. And we were talking an awful lot about, and you were talking about the chakras, because I try to combine a lot of things together. Sometimes I do a lot of breath work with people for anxiety management, for focus, for centering, and to avoid panic attacks and stuff. So I do a lot of breath work, and which has a ton of applications because it can arouse you and it can calm you. But I came up with this one thing. In yoga, they talk often about 3-part breathing. It's where you engage your belly, and then your diaphragm, and then your rib cage and your chest, or whatever. It can be your chest, rib cage, belly. It can be belly, diaphragm, lungs. Just kind of to gain more awareness of breath moving through your body, up and down and down and up. But I thought, one of my clients came in. She was a 30-year-old woman. She said, I feel a lot of things in my womb. I'm like, let's address that. She was single. She wasn't active sexually. She didn't have any children, but she felt a lot of things in her womb. And so I was like, that's kind of cool. Let's go with it. And I thought, what about breathing into your womb? And so we were like, yeah, let's breathe down deep. And then I thought, what about 7-part breathing? So I came up with this 7-part breath, and it goes like this. It goes nose, throat, chest, ribs, diaphragm, belly, pelvis. And then you can breathe out in the opposite direction. And I was like, when you do this. You can go, some people can't take a long, deep breath, but I work with them. So you go back and forth once. Doing that focuses your attention on your body. You're noticing the trajectory of the breath as it moves through. You're engaging with body parts you may never have been aware of. And I changed the word from womb to pelvis so we could use it with guys too.
Yeah.
And I turned it into a haiku.
Great.
So you could use the haiku as a mantra for relaxation and focus and calming. So it goes like this: nose, throat, chest, rib cage, diaphragm, belly, pelvis. 7-part breathing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm always trying to simplify so people have
Well,
easy
it's good because
tools.
it helps people remember.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't think that much about their body, right? Or about breathing. So it's really great to have a framework that's easy to remember. I think those types of things are very, very important. I have a tendency to make things like that up a lot just to help me remember things.
Right.
And then I don't feel like, oh my God, I'm going to forget that. You know, it's like, okay, kind of like Roy G. Biv for remembering the colors of the rainbow, you know?
Yep.
Annie, as I was writing my own haikus throughout your book, I repeatedly had the urge to create little doodles to symbolically capture what I was expressing poetically, such as drawing a bursting heart. Do you feel that adding artistic expression to our haiku poems brings benefit by adding other dimensions of healing or another mode of self-expression?
Absolutely. Yes.
Sorry, I called you Annie again. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. Some people call me Annie.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime we can engage our bodies in whatever it is that we're doing, it's helpful. Because in the end, that's all there is a very healthy, your body tells you what your needs are. Your emotions, your feelings tell you what your needs are.
Yeah.
And we don't move enough. We know about being sedentary and what it does to us. It takes years off of our life. We're not supposed to be sitting to make a living as much as we are nowadays, you know? So
Right.
I wiggle a lot. I stretch a lot. And doodling while you were doing haikus, it reminds me when I was working with the publishers and they said, "Oh, what's your social media representation?" I said, "What?" I said, "I'm a technosaurus."
Yeah.
And I said, "I don't have any. It's really, again, it's not about me. It's about the people who read and write the book, you know, their own healing." So, so I was kind of forced to start an Instagram account. And so I write in it. I include a haiku with some kind of topic, and I either take a photo or find a photo on the internet and use that. So, of course, that's kind of the draw, maybe. I think with the way people do things now, they see something and they're like, "Ooh, what's that about?" But so it does add something to have a graphic, but to be doodling is wonderful. That's the right brain. That's the subconscious maybe popping up. I love the idea of a bursting heart. Did you say?
Yeah. Well, I was writing a haiku about love, and I just thought, you know, I'm clairvoyant and I'm very visual. So as I'm writing or even listening to you, images pop up. And so I see that as a different language. Like you say, a right brain interpretation, because, you know, the psyche is very symbolic. Dreams are very symbolic. So I always honor that side of myself. And so if I'm painting or writing or meditating on what I would like to paint to express something, I watch the inner imagery and it's always teaching me or guiding me. And so I just felt, I was just curious to ask you, because in my own poetry in your book, I just felt the urge to put something either next to a line or the whole little stanza that if someone just looked at the symbol, they would get what I was saying symbolically as opposed to having to read it.
Sure. And there are many different kinds of intelligences and ways of expressing oneself. Some of my clients dance. Some create jewelry. Some sing, play instruments. some cook. It's an art
Mhm.
form. What I always say, whatever works.
Yeah.
Whatever works. Everybody's different. We are special little snowflakes to a degree.
Yeah. And we do melt away with time.
Yeah. Yes. That's another topic.
Yeah.
Impermanence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Death.
Emptiness is form and form is emptiness. On page, these new Roman numerals, I think it's page 19 of your introduction, X1X, XIX. You mentioned writing haiku is about the rhythm or flow of language as it's read. As a therapist and practitioner of healing alchemy, I find that a lot of people's physical, emotional, and mental challenges reflect disruption in the rhythm, pressure, and flow systems of the body. For example, high blood pressure, menstrual irregularities, breathing pattern disorders, dysregulation of the bowel and bladder, circadian stress disorder, or having too much to do each day that one cannot find their groove and stay connected to themselves and their personal needs. Which made me wonder, have you ever observed that engaging the rhythm and flow process of creating haiku has a positive effect on the kinds of rhythm, pressure, and flow I've mentioned here?
Wow. I thought deep and hard, and my brain went into a variety of directions trying to answer that. But I went back to the body.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the book anyway, and throughout my work with people when we're not writing haikus, again, I often ask them, pay attention to your body right now. What are you feeling where? What sensation might be coming up? And then we kind of flesh that out. Writing haikus about our emotions can release some of that pent up or constricted energy that we hold in, because especially with the difficult emotions, they're painful to experience. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but I don't know if the act of writing the haiku or what you're choosing to write about.
I think,
content.
I mean that as well. Yeah.
Okay. And again, as I said, just in writing versus typing, I know there's been research on that. Using a writing utensil, whether it's chalk on a chalkboard, y'all know what that is still, and or a pencil on a piece of paper. There's something about the writing that helps us be more present, which allows us to be with what is. This sounds really deep, but so yes, writing haiku can help us regulate all systems.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of science underneath that.
Yeah, I think too, part of because I've studied Nancy Mellon's work and applied it so much in my life, that it's made me pay attention to, for example, how a person's inner story is playing out in their physiology. And because, for example, if someone's suffering from constipation, and maybe I find that linked to their financial challenges, I could see that if I asked them to write a poem or a haiku about that would be a release of something related to that. And by decreasing the psychic pressure, it would have a physiological correlate. But also because the haiku definitely brings about a rhythm, I find, particularly because I like things to rhyme. So it's like water flowing.
Yeah.
That's in my mind. If I get a good rhyming poem, I see a river flowing. And so I just was curious to ask you that, because that's just how I think. But I think I'm going to pay more attention to that. I'm going to start using haiku with my patients because I'm so inspired by your work. And I'm going to just use it on myself more. I'm going to try to write enough that I can get to where I can poetically express myself in the 5-7-5 syllable structure without having to think about it so much, just sort of develop it as a skill.
Well, just like anything, it's a practice.
Yeah.
Right. I think in haikus a lot now. I mean, it's not that I try to, it's just I I enjoy it. I know it
Mhm.
works. I like the musicality. I like making sense of my thoughts and my feelings or an image. And I hear something, I go, oh, that's 5 syllables.
Yeah, exactly.
In the book, I don't know if you saw, I actually have also like lists at the end, like a
Yes, I
glossary
saw
kind of
that.
lists of 5-syllable expressions, lists of
Mhm.
7-syllable expressions. Yeah. Yeah. Just
I
to
looked
give
at
people a
that.
starting point.
I looked at the list and I thought, wow, these words are quite big and complex for
Oh.
my sense of where I'm at with my haiku.
Oh.
So I'm going to graduate to those bigger words.
Oh. Oh, that's right. 5-syllable words, 5-syllable expressions. Oh, 5-syllable words. Yeah, like authenticity,
Right.
hallucination,
Yeah.
reciprocity. One of my favorite words
It's a great one.
lately. Yeah. So yeah, so that's fun. They actually had lists on the internet though of 5-syllable and 7-syllable expressions. Like somebody
that's
had already
cool.
kind of compiled this. I added some, but
That's
yeah.
great.
And I
Yeah.
wanted to mention something when you were talking about the musicality.
hmm
I did say, I'm going to reread this. As well as the content and meaning and word choice, writing haiku is about the rhythm or the flow of the language as it is read. That's what you shared. But my next line was, to be honest, though, many of my own creations do not read like music when my focus is on processing emotional content.
Right.
Again, the book is not about writing the perfect traditional haiku. It's about
Right.
using the haiku to get in touch with yourself.
I think that's, for a lot of people that would alleviate pressure.
Yes. Yeah.
And, I personally, if I was using this with a patient or a client and they didn't even match the 5-7-5 syllable structure, I would just be happy that they were doing something,
Yes. I wanted to mention that because originally in Japanese anyway, I don't quite understand it because I'm not a scholar of the Japanese language, but it wasn't about syllables. It was about some other component of the Japanese language. And it wasn't 5-7-5 syllables. So it doesn't matter. It's about expressing yourself. If you can condense something down into a palatable, short and sweet kind of expressive moment, that's what matters. Not even 5-7-5.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. I think for a lot of people, I know, my wife Penny loves puzzles. So if I was to ask her to do the 5-7-5 structure, she would probably find it even more interesting because her mind is very mathematical and she does the most advanced crosswords that she can find and, has entire books of them. She'll go through them on the airplane and things like that. So some people I think that's great for, but for other people, I think it would be a layer of complexity that might detract from the therapy,
Yes. I do have clients who say, I don't like forcing myself to structure and to inhibit my thoughts. So on the one hand, okay, if that's really hard for you, fine. But on the other hand, it might be a good practice because sometimes practice, just like working out, there's a little bit of strain or pain, not harsh pain, but in growth.
Yeah.
So it is hard for a lot of people. They don't like doing it. I was just, while we were taking our break, I was just thinking how much I enjoy haiku because it helps me take my expansive perspective and make sense of it. Bring it down to the basic minimum, the nuts or the core.
Essence.
And I enjoy that, the essence. But some people don't. So it's not going to work for everybody.
Yeah, well, I think as we're saying here, just the act of even playing your way into a topic, even if it's painful, like I have an art therapy exercise I developed for my patients called turning shit into flowers. And so what I have them do is just, for example, if they're experiencing a lot of anger, I just say, just let it happen on the canvas. Don't think at all about what it looks like. Just, if you want to just throw the whole bottle at the canvas, do it. But then, then you get the shit out, but then just let the canvas sit where you can see it. And go through the process of how can I convert this challenging emotion into something beautiful. And if all of a sudden you see where, painting some flowers or something that comes to you as part of the intention to heal. And it's just a very, very powerful exercise that people get a tremendous amount of benefit from. And it's beautiful because a lot of people are afraid to do art because they judge their art. I say, don't judge the art, just let go of all that and do it. I doubt when you sit on the toilet to have a poop, you're sticking your head down between your legs to see if it's the perfect poop, but you're just happy to get rid of it.
Until you're 60. Then you might look at, no. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, that's wonderful. I remember I worked with kids for a while, and I'm comfortable in my own skin. So I remember dancing and saying, "Can you dance angry?" And then they'd be like,
yeah.
And then I'd say, "Can you dance loving?" And they'd slow down and put their hands around themselves like they were slow dancing with somebody and kind of grooving. And then, "Can you dance sad?" And, they'd be lax and their face would change. It's just a way to get in touch with the feelings without really getting in touch with the memory or a thought or the actual feeling itself. It's just starting to bridge the gap between avoiding the feelings and recognizing you have feelings. Another thing, you're familiar with the expression alexithymia?
No.
Alexithymia. It means somebody who cannot identify or name or feel certain emotions. So some people have like emotional blindness a little bit.
Right.
So just doing this kind of work, just talking about the emotions or writing in real simple ways. Like, you don't have to say what makes you the angriest. You can say, what does anger feel like in your body? Write a haiku about that. So again, it's not direct. It's a little indirect way of opening up the dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah. I have the paradox of Alexa. We have an older version of Alexa that Angie and I have two wives, Angie and Penny, and they love to use it for, shopping lists and stuff like that. But I hate them because they're spy devices. But Alexa can be helpful, but she can get on my nerves because we'll be in the middle of the conversation at dinner and all of a sudden she'll pipe up and say something. And it's like, okay, you're spying on us. Go to sleep. Go away. So I have alexithymia. But anyhow, on another page in your introduction, you state traditional haiku is a classic form of poetry known for its brevity, concise use of language, and focus on existential matters, which often contain references to nature. What caught my attention is the statement in that statement was existential matters. From research I've done into the mental health crisis we're experiencing worldwide at this time, a common denominator is people that are having a hard time finding meaning in life any longer. And this is linked to the highest rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide in all age categories we've ever seen in recorded history. What do you feel some of the key challenges are that people are facing with regard to existential matters? And how do you experience haiku helping people transcend existential challenges and to find meaning in their life again?
Wow. Again, a lot of thoughts on this. And come back to me. It's like haiku was the personal became the professional. It was healing me and it worked well. And I'm like, oh, this might work for other people. Same reason I became a therapist. I'm like, oh, this kind of works. Let me see if this works. And if not, we'll figure out what works for you. Existential challenges for me personally, they're definitely eco grief, global warming. I mean, this is our, again, people forget that we're just a part of nature. We don't own it. We're not just stewards. We don't abuse it and use it. We're simply a part of nature. We're all animals.
Yeah.
But they forget that we need what nature provides to be healthy, which is fresh water, clean air, healthy soil. Yeah. Sunlight, not too much heat. Water. We're very fortunate up here in the Northeast where I live and to have not too severe weather, except for the snow in the winter, which is diminishing because of global warming. But global warming really bothers me because we're not respecting our mother. Another thing is technology. I think it's a cancer. It's a great tool, but it's not a tool anymore. It's a lifestyle. And if I won't work with children anymore because I cannot fight the impact that technology has had on their development.
It's very serious.
Yeah, which leads to existential crisis. And the self is already, as a child grows, defined by externals way too much. Nobody says, what do you think? What do you feel? What do you want? What do you know? What would you like to know? And we're all getting modeled by our environment. But with technology, the self is disappearing. The ability to think for yourself, I think of AI, is getting obliterated. And so how can you know your own purpose if your sense of self is being defined by externals all the time?
Yeah.
To me, you've got to be able to look within, and that's mindfulness. And that's paying attention, making some time and space to be with yourself, whether it's in meditation or just sitting for a few minutes, breathing, because the breathing brings you back into your own body, into your own self. So it's all connected for me. Existential crisis, huge meaning, greed, speed. We don't have to live as fast. Where are we going so fast?
Yeah, exactly. I created a term for exactly what you're talking about. I call it externalizing the self, projecting who you are and your sense of self-value and worth into external things, doings, you know, my car, my leather pants, or whatever status symbols or ways people tend to create a sense of valuation for themselves. But we have this crisis of relying on things that are always based on other people's opinions instead of how we feel, inside of ourselves. For example, a lot of people may love to dance because it makes them feel good, but they won't do it around other people because they're afraid of what other people will think. There's the externalizing of the self, right? You're not dancing because it feels good. You're not dancing because you're afraid of what someone else is going to think or say. And that's really a very dangerous situation that is really common in my patients throughout my entire career.
Yes.
Your book guides readers through a wide variety of explorations for healing with haiku, from reconnecting to nature to addressing our deepest fears and feelings, helping children overcome self-blame, and much more. Can you share an overview of what areas you see most directly related to people's challenges with being in touch with themselves, healing, and having a sense of ease in their life? In other words, if you were to say, this is where I think most people could direct their attention with their haiku practice because it's where most people are stuck, where would you send them?
I'm still not understanding. Yeah. Oh, themes?
Okay. So your book's got all these different themes in it: nature, love, feeling, jealousy, difficult feelings. So because you work with this so much, when you look at people in general and the state that they're in and the world is in, if you were to say, these are the top 3, 4, or 5 themes or areas that a person's probably going to get some good results with the process of haiku, where might you suggest, based on your experience of doing this work with people?
Well, the one word that comes to mind, 2 words, which I love so much because one of them's 5 syllables, and that's equanimity.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I think I mentioned it in the book, equanimity. It's a part where I say, where do you feel calm and focused despite stressors, despite things that are going on? It's like riding the waves of life. You're going to get distressed, and you might act out, you might be aroused, you might be angry, but you may also shut down, right? You can be in hyperarousal, you can be in hypoarousal. You want to be able to stay in, they call it in a certain kind of practice, the resilient zone. So how do you learn to manage distress, whether it's freezing or numbing or tuning out because there's too much going on and you can't tolerate it? or when you maybe explode or feel too much, get manicky, get anxious, get panicky. So that's distress tolerance. It's learning. And part of the book is by examining your emotions, the positive ones and the negative ones. What do you want to feel more of? And what do you want to feel less of? And how to do that. So accepting all of your emotions instead of reacting to them.
Right.
Or doing whatever it takes to not feel them, by learning to feel the feelings and work with them, accept them and go, oh, I'm angry about this because of that. Or, boy, I always feel diminished when people use that word about me. But that's not true. Just like in therapy, you look at what's true, what's not. Is there evidence for this? A lot of our patterns and a lot of our sense of self comes from, in many cases, most cases, childhood. What other people have told us to think about ourselves. So we're examining that too. So I go back to equanimity, knowing by developing practices that can help you learn how to calm yourself and center and focus right here, right now, which is like meditation, mindfulness, yoga, writing, any of those healing modalities. You find the peace inside and you say, oh, I like that. How do I get more of that? And it becomes a practice, saying, I deserve this. I deserve to feel peaceful and calm sometimes. So equanimity. Oh,
fear is a huge one for people.
Huge. Yes. And examining fear.
Yeah.
Where does it come from and why?
I love Zig Ziglar's acronym. He describes that most fear is false evidence appearing real.
Right.
And
that's the reality check.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario. So if I fear, what could happen? And then can I handle that or not? And learning that maybe you can handle that. And if you can't, you need help to handle it. People have the hardest time asking for help. When you experience betrayal trauma, when the people who are charged with protecting you and guiding you and loving you are in fact the ones who inflict the damage on you.
Yes.
Could be your own family of origin, but in the case of like the Catholic Church, for example, with the pedophile priest, for example.
Yeah.
Those are people who are supposed to have your best interests in mind and your soul and your spirit, yet they're the ones who are inflicting the damage. It's very confusing. Or when the military, with the, I can't remember what it was called, but the something tail crisis, when women and some men, when women were being sexually assaulted by other members of the military. The military's there to protect you.
Right.
Yet they're the ones. So when people are betrayed, trust gets damaged. And it's very hard.
I think that's the theme of the last 5 years.
Yes, I have lost a lot of trust in a lot of things, but I do trust myself 95% of the time. So I go within.
Yeah. That's step number one, right? If you don't have self-trust, you're probably always going to have some degree of anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you ride the anxiety? You normalize it. You own it. I mean, there are people who are born, again, more therapy, but people who are born more aroused, people with ADHD, or some people on the autism spectrum, or somebody maybe with type 1 bipolar. There are people whose genetics and their brain works a certain way. So some people come out of the womb more aroused. Some people come out of the womb a little calmer. That's temperament. Some people are geared to be a little more hyped up to begin with. But the world doesn't give you much of a break because modern life is very fast, very demanding, very artificial. And you feel like I got to get along. I got to do. That's that being versus doing. I think you were touching on that a little while ago. Do I want to be or do I want to just go?
That's one of the challenges. That might have been the conscious or unconscious hesitancy for you to have a social media account. Is more. It's just more, right? It's more this, more that.
Yeah. Somebody's going to demand to touch. What if I go viral? Yay!
Yeah.
Takes over my life. No,
Yeah.
I like my life. I like having
Yeah.
time to think and be and walk my dog and do a yoga class and cook dinner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And have
absolutely.
quality of life.
What a beautiful exploration. I'm really grateful that we've had this time together and that we've got to share so many amazing ways of looking at healing through haiku and inner explorations and the importance of being in touch with our feelings, our emotions, our body, and our self. And as we bring the podcast to a close, I'd just love to invite you to share any final comments, thoughts, feelings that you may have, and also your contact information, any services you offer if you do, or anything that you want to share as we close. Where to find you?
It's hard to. I should devise a haiku, but to put all this in a nutshell, what keeps coming to me is, people used to call, therapy or meditation, navel gazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're looking down at your own self, the middle of yourself. I think they said it derogatorily.
Oh, yeah,
navel
it was,
gazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But again, or being selfish, looking inside yourself, but I see it as, again, trying to make peace with everything that you got inside of you. And then I really do believe that when you're not overreactive, when you're like, oh, that's why I'm feeling that. I don't have to. When you have a little bit of inner peace or more, or strive for some more inner peace, I don't mean 24/7, but you say that's really important to me. It reflects, and then it creates intrapersonal peace.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, interpersonal. Intrapersonal is within yourself. And then you know yourself well, what's healthy for you, what's not. You can keep boundaries, what's toxic. Oh, I don't like that. That doesn't serve my peace. And then so you can create healthier relationships, which can heal the world. And I know that sounds extreme, but I really do believe that.
Yeah, well, I think it was Mahatma Gandhi that said, if you want to heal the world, heal yourself.
Yeah. I'm not the first, and Jung and on and on and on and on and on. So I'll mention my Instagram page, because on there, like I said, there's over 100 entries over the past year and a half I've entered. And it's kind of cool because in every one, as I said, there's a picture, I share a haiku, I talk about a theme or an emotion, and then I invite people to write their own at the very end, and I give them 2 or 3 different prompts. As you said, they were helpful. Think about this, what about this or that? And some people do write. So for, it's free therapy. But my Instagram page is, I think it's great, but it's like,
that's great.
Haiku healer, one word. That's all I know. Haiku healer.
Haiku healer.
Healer, one word. Haiku, Haiku, Healer. My last name is Helfer, which means helper in German.
Awesome.
And I guess I can give my email other than that, because I don't have a website or anything. So it's
do you offer, can people come to you for professional psychotherapy or counseling, or do you work through an agency, or how do you do that?
I do work through an agency. So, and the issue is I'm only licensed in the state of New York. We can't work outside of the state. So if someone's in New York, that's licensure. I could get licensed in other states, but I'd have to go through the rigmarole.
All that board stuff, yeah.
So if someone's in New York and wants to work with me, I do work virtually. I prefer in person. But about a fifth of my people still work with me virtually. So my name is, it's going to be somewhere, right?
It's all over the podcast, yeah.
It's all over the podcast. Okay. And
it's on your book. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. I'm everywhere.
You're famous.
No, thank you.
You're famous now.
I'll help you do your work. So I guess my email, that's fine, is A Helfer, first initial, last name, 17, the numeral, @gmail.com.
And there's another beautiful correlation. 17 was the archetype of 575, and it's in your email address. How cool is that?
Mm.
There's the matrix right there.
We should do my astrology.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be quite profound.
I don't know. So, yeah, I guess that's it.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
you.
I really enjoyed all of this. It was fun, and it's fun to meet you. And it's neat when when you read a book and you get into it and you get to meet the author. That's one of my favorite things about podcasting is I actually get to know all these amazing and interesting people. And it's very inspiring to me and keeps my juices flowing after 41 years in the same career. I've found that the only way I can keep myself from going flat is just let my soul guide me into the next adventure, which is almost always based on what I see people need. It's like, okay, I keep seeing this. I better learn to understand that better. So it's been a long but exciting and interesting journey, and I'm still quite passionate about it. So it's a good thing. But thank you again, and thank you to the sponsors of the podcast. Thank you to all of you that buy anything from the sponsors. As you hear me say at the end of every podcast, when you buy from the sponsors, you're buying from people that use organic, biodynamic, and free-range farms to make their products. So whatever you spend goes back to the farmers that are taking care of the planet and our natural resources. And you're helping companies that are practicing moral and ethical principles in support of all of us. You get good health and support, and the podcast gets supported. So that's a quadruple win for everybody. And thanks to each of you. I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. And I hope you're inspired to do some haiku or anything that wants to come out of you as we've shared today. And again, Anne's beautiful book, Healing with Haiku, A Poetic Exploration of the Self by Anne, A-N-N-E Helfer, H-E-L-F-E-R. I got it on Amazon, I believe, or I'm sure it's on Amazon. I don't know. Maybe the publisher sent it to me, but I love it. And if you want a great guide, she's laid the book out beautifully. She takes you right to the most important areas to look into yourself. And it's like just having a beautiful little healing lesson plan that you can hold in your hands. It's an easy book to read. It's not a big book. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I hope you all enjoy it as much as I have. So lots of love. Thanks for being the change the world needs now, all of you guys. And I look forward to sharing something amazing with you next week. Aho, great spirit. We are safe. We are home. We are whole. Thank you, Anne.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Spirit Gym with Paul Chek and today's guest, Anne Helfer. Be sure to check out Anne's book, Healing with Haiku, A Poetic Exploration of Self, available on Amazon in Kindle and paperback versions and in all good bookstores. Follow Anne on Instagram at Haiku Healer for more ideas and inspirations. For more interaction with Paul and to share ideas and ask questions about topics discussed in this podcast, we invite you to join his Spirit Gym program and community. There are 3 different levels of membership to fit your budget and lifestyle. You can participate in live Q&A sessions, access the members forum within the Spirit Gym community where you can chat with other members, attend weekly virtual meetups with Paul, and study his comprehensive Master Key online program. Explore the options and subscribe today by going to myspiritgym.com. And finally, if you enjoyed today's episode, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and a warm review on the podcast platform of your choice. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube.